Well, today we got to discuss a little bit about some jobs that we've had in the past and some interesting things that we've done. Me specifically, some things in high school and college, and you got some interesting stories about being a paper boy and doing some interesting fishy things in the Army.
And there's juggling.
Yeah. Lots of juggling and magic. So we hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to Mish Men Podcast. Today, I'm here with my partner in crime, Mr. Adam Mauser.
How do you do?
And I'm Dustin Labar. And today, we're going to talk about something that I thought would be fun to talk about. We are going to talk about, I'm going to call it story time with some jobs that we used to do. And then also we can talk about some things, it may roll into some stuff that's going on nowadays, but some, different jobs that you've had in the past, any funny stories you have. I thought that may be a fun, lighthearted topic after last week's wartime discussion.
Armageddon discussion.
Yeah. So I guess I can kick it off. So my funniest one, which we've talked about on this podcast, is so I had a couple jobs when I was in high school. I wasn't super focused in high school. So
I wasn't either.
Yeah, you want a job that's like, so here's the perfect job when you're in high school, at least when you were me. You didn't want to have to go, but you definitely still want to get paid. They're really hard jobs to find.
Yeah.
They almost don't exist. So I did, let me think what my first one was. I should probably start with that. I worked at a ice cream shop.
Like anyone we'd recognize?
No. It was like a small town ice cream shop. And typically only females worked there. I don't even know how I got the job. And when I say typically, I was the only male that worked there.
Yeah.
So,
did you date anyone there?
No, I was heavy.
Oh, that's right.
The girls were cute. And I was like,
you still could have dated somebody.
I tried.
You've got that winning personality.
It wasn't winning enough.
That's going to make a clip.
That's going to make a clip. So I did work there, and I was still heavy at the time. So you can imagine working in an ice cream shop that was also cooked these delicious foot-long hot dogs.
Oh, man. Hot dogs and ice cream.
I don't know what was so good about these foot-long hot dogs, but I probably did eat 3 or 4 of that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the ice cream was so good, but so I didn't know.
Was it a soft serve or did you scoop it?
Soft serve. It was soft serve.
I love some good
so
soft serve.
So you had to learn how to do there was like a technique to it, you know, to do the thing and then make the top good.
Did you have a curl, like a DQ curl, or some other kind of fanciness?
As I got better, I could do like a curl at the top. Yeah. But this is really funny. The first day that I worked there, they didn't really give me a lot of instruction on how to end the cone.
Yeah.
So
there's an art to it.
So the first one was about 6 or 8 rings tall, and then I just pinched it off at the machine.
With your fingers?
Yeah.
Oh. And did you do one of these?
They were like, you can't serve that. It's the thing where they stand at the window and the customer's watching you make it. It's like a small shop, and they were like, you can't serve that to anybody. And I was like,
pinched it.
Well, I was like, dropped it. So that means the first bottom of the next cone is compromised too.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've pinched the top and the bottom of an ice cream swirl.
Yeah. Well, they should have given you some amount of training. I don't always blame everything on training, but something like, okay, when you get to the bottom or the top of the cone, you got to do this feature. Thing. It may not be pretty at first, but at least and you don't use your fingers.
Yeah, well, you learn quick.
Did you I can't do that and just eat the top of it and then hand it to him?
I ate the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I ate the whole thing.
But you didn't give it to him.
No. And then the one time, so do you ever seen the hard chocolate coating?
Dip. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So they're really hard to do because it's soft serve ice cream.
Right.
So without dropping it. So I'm surprised I kept this job that long. So I did a cone, and then I went to dip it, and what you would think happened, it
just dumped it.
Fell.
Yeah.
And then I just reached back and grabbed it out. So I mean,
awesome.
It was just this chocolate mess running all over.
And you were able to continue working at this place.
I mean, it must have been my personality.
Yeah, it had to be.
It must have been my and we worked for tips. You got a little bit of money per hour, but then you made tips. And in the summertime, man, hot days, ice cream.
Yeah. Where was this place near like an amusement park or anything like that, or were there other venues in the area where people were like going out, or was it just standalone?
It's like this. It's called it was Tasty Freeze is like a big thing, but then they changed it to just the Freeze.
Yeah.
When she moved locations, but this lady like people were pretty sure that she just laundered money through it because she would open the store for 3 months out of the year, so it's closed the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And it's
which isn't uncommon for ice cream places.
It's a pretty big mainstay in Tunkhannock, like my hometown. Like everybody knows about the Freeze. The hot dogs are fantastic. Like all the stuff there is great. And then she just like lives in Vegas and that's like her job. She doesn't do anything else. So I mean, I don't know that you probably make good money in the summertime, but I wouldn't think that you'd live in Vegas without a job money the rest of the summer. So I mean, if she's laundering, good on her. Yeah. Good on her.
So related to that, there is a place. So Jennifer and I were both from the Dayton, Ohio area, and we started going up to Kings Island. We would go to Kings Island near Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Mason, Ohio is the closest town. And so we would stay up there. The past, 5 or 6 years, we would go up there, make a sojourn up there, and go to Kings Island with the kids. Right. And we found this place called Whip-de-Doo, which is like a soft serve ice cream place. Uh-huh. And everyone loves Whip-de-Doo. We would go to Whip-de-Doo. It didn't look like much. It was Mason. Mason's a really nice town on the outskirts of Cincinnati. And there was another place closer to Cincinnati proper called The Cone. And they literally had a 2-lane drive-through because they had so much volume.
Snap.
And plus it was a walk-up. And the building was shaped like a cone.
Okay.
And it was money, too. I mean, it was so good. So good. So I could go for some Whip-de-Doo. I love good, creamy soft serve.
I mean, it was, now that I think about it, they upgraded that place to give it a drop. Like, when I tell you middle of summer in Tunkhannock, if you show up there at 4:30, you're not getting served for an hour. Yeah. And there's no place to sit. It's just a parking lot in this building.
Yeah.
Like, you just stand and wait. But people would just, and then they did put a drive-through in eventually. But I mean, it's a small parking lot. Like, you can get one car, and everybody's parking the entrance to the place. I mean, it was wild.
They don't have, they have chain soft serve places around here. But there's no like local like mom and pop soft serve that I know of in this area.
Is there one on 72 by Kroger's by Jeff Road? Did I just make that up?
Kroger's by Jeff Road. That's a chain. Handles is a chain from Ohio.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? It must be.
Handles, and they have some soft serve, but they're mostly dip. They're kind of like Brewster's. Brewster's ice cream, you've probably seen those around too. Those are, Handles is an ice cream place that was started in Ohio.
Okay.
I think the Youngstown area. And then they have franchises that you can buy, and a guy bought that franchise, and I think it was the first foray down this far south.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, but not like local, like Whip-de-Doo or the Freeze or
the Cone.
The Cone.
We need one of those. We should open one.
I don't have a recipe for good soft serve, though. You know who's got good soft serve?
Who?
Phil Sandoval's.
Oh, really?
They do, like, you get this little tiny cup of ice cream.
Yeah.
If you want it after the meal, and it is some of the creamiest soft serve I've ever had.
Maybe we should just steal it from them and then open our own, and we'll call it Mishmash Men Cream.
The Pinch.
Yeah, the Pinch, yeah.
We'll finish it off with a pinch.
Welcome to the Pinch. Every ice cream gets a squeeze.
You'll just be sitting in a chair over there, and they bring the cone.
Who's that guy? I'm the pincher. It's a high-level position.
That's Dustin. Yeah. He's the pincher.
He's the pincher. Do you have any good? Did you have any good high school age?
So high school
jobs?
age. I had a paper route. That was fun, delivering papers after school, and then on Sunday mornings, the weekend paper.
So I've always wondered this, and I've never talked to anybody that had a paper route. You didn't know the addresses by heart, right? Did some people get papers and some not, and then you would just know it, or did you just throw a paper to every house on the street?
Oh no, I knew who my customers were.
So you got
because I had to collect from them.
Oh, so you actually collected from them?
Yeah.
And who outsourced you? Like, who was your boss?
This lady, Mrs. Green. That's all I know.
And she worked.
Mrs. Green would bring me. She was like a distributor.
Okay.
And she would deliver to all the paper boys.
Oh.
Or I guess they were paper boys. I don't know of any girls that had a paper route.
Okay.
So I had like one of those white canvas like sacks.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. And I'd ride my bike and get the paper, right up. I didn't have it. There wasn't a box you put it in.
Yeah.
So I'd ride the bike up as close as I could to the front door, throw it up at the front door, go to the next one. And then on Sundays, so that was the weekday paper.
Yeah.
And on Sundays, it was the one with all the sale ads. So it was a big old thick thing.
Paper, yeah.
And I'd have to get up at 5. My dad would help get me up because, you know, when you're that age, you're not an early riser.
How old are you at this point?
14,
14, okay.
15, something like that. And I think I started it when I was 14. And so he'd help get me up at 5, and which is super early for a 14, 15-year-old boy. I mean, that's like the middle of the night. Now I get up at 4 or 5, and I'm like, let me take a couple naps if I don't have anything going on. So, and I'd have to insert the ads into the paper.
Oh, okay.
And then if it was raining out, I'd have to put them in plastic bags.
Yep.
And then he would have there were more Sunday-only customers than I had weekday papers.
Okay.
And he would have them in the back of the truck. And I would literally just run back and forth on both sides of the street. So I'd get a paper, run to that one while he's just kind of idling along.
Gotcha.
And then so I'd deliver. I had like 3 or 4 streets, maybe 150 customers.
Wow. So how often did you get their money?
Once a month.
And did you go to their house and knock on the door?
Yeah, like knock on the door. And some guys were just real
did you ever have
curmudgeonly.
Did you ever have to did somebody try and not pay you?
No, they would.
They would always pony up the dough?
They would pony up the dough.
So they would pay you, I don't know, how much money?
I can't remember what the rate was. I mean, it wasn't it was like maybe 25 cents for the daily paper and maybe $1 for the Sunday paper.
So you're talking like $2 a week,
and
$2.25 a week.
Well, I collect about once a month.
Yeah, but I'm saying basically, okay,
about that.
And then did that all go to you?
No, because
you had to pay the man.
I had to pay the man, so it was I was an independent contractor.
Okay, so you don't remember how much money you were pulling in?
Yeah, I don't remember any of that now.
I've always wondered
Now that money wouldn't go into my account, and then I would just take that money.
That's what I figured.
Turn it in. Yeah,
you would just take whatever you owed them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I got some amount of money back.
Isn't it amazing how illegal drug dealers have the same setup operation as apparently a local paper boy?
And from what I hear, pimps.
Yeah, you have a distributor, and you got to pay the distributor.
Right.
You can't. I mean, that's wild. I guess I didn't know how you got paid, and I didn't know because it's wild to remember all those addresses. If you were doing 100-some houses,
it wasn't remembering an address. It was just like, oh, that's Mr. Green's house.
I gotcha.
That's Mr. Thorson's house, and that's the holes. And that's
still a lot of people. Still a lot of people to not. You ever screw up, throw it to the wrong house, and they.
Because I mean, it was like clockwork. Now at first, I would have to remember it, but I don't remember that being this huge challenge because you would go around, regularly to these people and ask for money, and so I just knew that they were a Sunday only customer.
Oh wow! And then also, so did you have to get the people to buy it, or did they already have those people on the books and you took over, or you just start taking them papers?
Yeah, I wasn't in the sales position. Okay. It was just existing customers.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's crazy.
So that was my paperboy job.
Okay.
And then I started working at Wendy's. Got hired right after I got my license. I applied for a job, and I was actually the first employee hired for this Wendy's. They've demolished that Wendy's, and now it's like a mattress store, which is kind of a surprise because it was at the exit of I-70. The I-70 that goes east-west throughout the United States.
Yeah.
And pretty close to I-75. So how that Wendy's could not make money is just beyond me. But anyways, first employee hired for that, and then that's where I met Jennifer.
What'd you do at Wendy's?
I was hired as a grill man.
So a fry cook?
No, grill man.
That's different than a fry cook.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was capable of making fries, but I was
there was a person that just only did the fries?
When we were super busy.
Okay, so but if you were slow, you may do the grill.
It was slow. It was all you needed to run the store was a back.
Yeah.
Cashier, a front cashier, and a grill guy. You could do everything with just those 3 people, and there was usually a crew leader there.
Okay.
Now, when you're slammed, like lunch hour in the middle of the summer, you'd have a whole back sandwich station populated, a back grill, a front grill, front sandwich station, person getting drinks. It was a whole operation.
Let me tell you something. In college, my first year of college, I would smash Baconators from Wendy's. I mean, they were so good.
I love Wendy's hamburgers.
They're so tasty.
Just a regular, if I just need a quick hamburger, and it's hard to get it, and there's so many other options like Five Guys or whatever, but the Wendy's hamburger is solid.
There's something about it.
Well, it's the fresh.
Yeah, so
I don't know if they still do fresh or not.
So
it sure tastes fresh.
There's like a theory on that is that they keep them at 33 degrees. So technically it's fresh and never frozen because 32 would be frozen. But they're basically freezing them.
I don't know if they do that now, but at the time, like literally, there was a sack of meat that you would get from the distribution place, and it would be put in the refrigerator, like a giant bag of meat, and they had this big patty machine.
Oh, you made the patties.
And you put meat into the hopper, and it would like ka-chunk with the wax paper.
Oh, yeah.
And make the patties. It was never frozen in our hands because like they would make up enough patties based off of the volume they had historically, and then that's what you'd have. Okay,
that's interesting. So Wendy's was the job you had all throughout high school, or till you got to college, or till you went to the military?
Yeah, till I went to the military.
So I'll jump in with my before. So like my last job in high school was working. It took me from high school to college. Was working for Pablo.
Oh yeah, Pablo.
For Pablo. So if you guys
phones are about to ring off the hook.
The phones are about to light up.
Light up. That's it.
That was the episode with James. So if you haven't heard that episode, I go in a little more detail. But
that was a funny one.
Yeah, Pablo was an international buyer and trader of bovine products and accessories. Made most of his money in the semen trade.
Yes.
I don't know if there was a distributor like I guess
always fresh, never frozen.
No, it was always frozen.
Always frozen.
Yeah, it was. If it came hot, it was not good. Yeah, you didn't want the hot semen. Did I ever tell you about the hot semen box?
You have not told me about the hot semen box.
Should I get into that real quick?
Maybe.
It's a quick story. So, if a tank came dry, meaning no liquid nitrogen, it all had, whatever bad, it got dumped out or something happened. All the stuff was bad. Like it's bad.
Right.
So
because the cells die.
Yeah, they're all dead. There's nothing to do with it. So conventional wisdom would say you would do what?
Throw it away.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
Well, Pablo had a box on his shelf, and it was written in Sharpie, the hot semen box. And so I don't know why. I still asked him why, and he said, "Don't ask me, just do it."
Yeah.
So he would
never ask a question you don't want to know the answer to.
So he would say that tank came in dry. Don't put all the semen in the hot semen box.
Man, that's nasty.
So do you know? You probably know because you did farming, but it comes in like these little straws. Like they're like the really, really, really small straws.
We never did AI.
Okay, but I just thought maybe you had seen it just in your. No. So they come in these little small plastic straws, and so you'd pull down that box of the hot box, and it was not cool. It wasn't super cool. It was not a fun experience, but it's a fun story to tell, because I can't think of a reason why you would keep
just throw it in the trash.
I mean, that's where I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, or pour it down the sink and then throw the refuse away.
I mean, I would probably just throw them in a garbage can, just like straws of useless. It's just basically useless plastic. But he decided he's going to keep them, and who knows why. I actually just talked to a friend.
Only Pablo.
I actually just talked to a friend of mine from Tunkhannock, and I haven't talked to him in a while. And I asked him if he had heard from Pablo, and he was like, they think he went AWOL for like 2 months, and like his wife didn't know where he was.
Wow.
And he was just in Uruguay. He's from Uruguay, and he was just in Uruguay maybe.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of guy I worked for.
Interesting cat.
Started drinking the bottom shelf scotch as soon as the first pound of coffee ran out. Ugh. So 9:15 the coffee pot's empty. 9:20 whiskey.
That's
Scotch,
nice.
Scotch, yeah. He was a wild fellow.
Yeah.
So that brings us to, so you had a job so you went to the military.
Yeah.
And then you were just talking before we started that you had an interesting.
Yeah, this is a good story. So I was probably about 21, 22. I was probably 22. And Hurricane Andrew. And some of the listeners might remember this. Hurricane Andrew blew through Homestead, Florida, destroyed a ton of stuff. It was like a big deal. So this is like July, maybe August of 1992. So I was 22. So I was up in the 10th Mountain Division, infantry guy up there, and our unit deployed to go help clean up Hurricane Andrew. And so we get down there. We're in this like bunch of giant tents and cots in this area that it was like a future condominium development area. Mm-hmm. You know how like those areas that they haven't developed yet. So it's just like a lot of stuff where they clean out the cement truck or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they had some building going on. There was a stadium down there, or like a ball field where I can't remember. I think it was the Cleveland Indians where they played. So that's the kind of area we were in. bunch of just tents everywhere. It was a miserable deployment as deployments go.
Yeah.
Like we were in better conditions in Somalia, if that tells you anything.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait to get back to Somalia.
Yeah. So, which was like the next year. So we went to, we were cleaning up, like we had the same area for like 3 weeks. We were down there a month total, and I'm back right under 30 days. And there were money reasons for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the same area, but we got tasked to clean up this fish market.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We also had this was the fun part. We had access to, and some of our guys, I didn't have a license to do it, but if some of the guys had experience driving larger vehicles, like they might have had their CDL or whatever, and we had a dump truck.
Okay.
Or not a dump truck, a garbage truck.
Oh.
The old school garbage truck that, guys hanging off the back.
Sure.
And it's got the big arm that comes down, like you throw the stuff into the back and it scoops it up and pushes it. One of those. And that was so much fun hanging off the back. I'm basically, I'm still a young man, and it's, when you're that age, hanging off the back of a garbage truck, it sounds like something fun to do.
That around the same time as that movie came out with Emilio Estevez? Men at Work?
Men at Work. It might have been around the same time. It was within recent memory.
Okay.
So, so we're riding around. We clean up. We had to clean up the fish market.
Jeez.
And this is 2-3 weeks into, like, after the hurricane and after the power was out.
So fresh.
in the region.
So fresh fish.
Yeah. So we go. There was a trash can, like the old metal trash can, like Oscar the Grouch, that kind of he lives in. And it had been raining, and there was like this seal of the rain and the fish guts that had like kept the stench apparently under wraps where you couldn't smell it. But somebody, like, we got to throw this in the back of the garbage truck. Somebody knocked it, and it broke the seal. It smelled so bad, like the guys that were near it ran away throwing up.
Oh my God! Like
it was instantaneously.
Oh my God!
So then it became this dare, like, hey, Keavney, you and we had this guy Bessler from Wyoming. So Keavney was from Alabama, Bessler was from Wyoming. We dared them to like pick it up and put it in there, and they did it.
Oh
Bessler, I think if I remember correct, Bessler was able to hold it down. But Keavney, he ended up running away, throwing up. But it was one of those things, like daring someone to take that trash can. In the meantime, we're like standing back because we don't want to smell this. I mean, you can smell it, but it's not like
you didn't smell it. You didn't smell it. Smell it.
You could smell it, but it wasn't like.
But you didn't go close to it.
No, no. We were like standing way back. We're like, okay, we'll each pitch in $5 if you go do this.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
And so we dared them, and they were able to get it in the back of the truck. But it was just that whole area just reeked because no electricity for weeks.
Yeah.
And in a fish market that smells unpleasant anyway.
Yeah.
And you throw out no power, and it has the garbage hasn't been cleaned up for weeks. It was disgusting.
That's terrible.
It was.
I'm glad you didn't smell it. You'd probably be a different person if you smelled it. It seems like.
Again, I could smell it.
Well, I mean, like,
but it wasn't like in my face.
Whiff,
like it wasn't like overpowering.
Yeah. So let me think. So after I got out of college, I worked for Pablo for a little bit. Still, because it was a good. I mean, it was.
Was this a cash only deal that you had?
He had payroll.
Oh, so it was like W-2 and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. His wife did the payroll. If you could imagine that, a lot of times they forgot, and you'd have to be like,
I'm sure.
Hey, it's Friday, like, it's payday, and they'd be like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. We got to pay you for all this work you've done.
When you're in college or high school and college, you're like, I need that money.
Yeah.
Like now. Because I got 8 things I have to buy that I don't need, and it's very.
It's part of the deal. You pay me, I work.
Yeah. I had a funny conversation with a guy at work today about that, but that's a long story. I'll tell you later. So then I went to. I coached CrossFit for a little bit when I got fit. So I coached CrossFit,
right?
And then I worked at the place that Pennsylvania or that the office is based on. So I worked at PA Paper Supply.
And that was the building that they based the office on, like the outside?
Yeah, like that picture of that tower in the beginning of the episode of The Office, that is that.
Yeah.
The office looks nothing like it. The offices look nothing like it.
The inside.
The insides look nothing
but the
like
outside.
But the outside, yes. Yeah. So it was PA Paper Supply is based under Mifflin off that. Don't know why, because it's not like exactly like how that show portrayed it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But
they're interested in making a funny show.
Yeah, that's right.
Just some random.
It was the most mind-numbing job. So I was an inside sales paper salesman. So do you know what that means?
Before you do that, I want you to try to characterize yourself. So the salesman on the show, you had Phyllis, you had Stanley, you had Jim, and you had Dwight, and you had Andy later on.
Yeah.
Which one of those 5 people were you most like?
Was I most like?
Andy, Jim, Dwight, Stanley.
I was probably most like. I don't want to say that I was most like Stanley, but I feel like I was most like Stanley. Like Stanley gets up at 4:59 and is walking out the door. Like that was me. I didn't do crosswords, but I actually got in trouble for. So this is my entrance into a company that had like technology to like see what you were doing on your computer.
Yeah.
And they were like, my boss called me in the office. They're like, do you know how many messages you sent on Facebook Messenger in the past 24 hours, or like 2 days at work? And I was like, no, they were like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. They're like, we don't even know how you did any work.
Was this manager, was he a lot like Michael Scott?
No, it was a lady. And it was I don't want to say her name. It was a lady, and her husband owned the company. So she was the manager.
Oh, yeah.
But he millionaire. Unbelievable. Like you couldn't even walk by his office door. There was like a sign like, don't even touch it.
Did you have to genuflect when you saw him?
It's pretty much what you had to do. Like nobody saw, like for a while, I never even saw him. Like I didn't even know if he existed or not. Like, and then if you wanted to talk to him, you went to his basically his assistant, but she was like the office manager. And like you had to go through her. You couldn't even you couldn't go into his office.
And she was probably pretty surly, right?
Oh yeah,
a chip on her shoulder. Yeah,
she had a chip on her. I mean, she's like, if I could, the way you're thinking, it's exactly like, it's like that lady from Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's like her. And you couldn't touch his office door. You couldn't knock. It was like he had a sign on his door. It was like, don't ever knock. Like he's doing something like, do you know how cutthroat the paper sales business is that you can't knock on my door?
Awesome.
And his son was
he inept?
Dude, his son. I met him doing that's how I got the job there, through his son. So I coached his son in CrossFit, but he fancied himself a businessman because his dad was a businessman. But you want to know what he did?
Nothing.
Magician.
Did he have a whole outfit, like a top hat and a cape?
He was like a fancy magician, so he would do like fancy stuff. But I talked to him one time. This is the kind of guy he is. We're just talking to him about we were gonna meet and talk about a CrossFit gym. He made me sign an NDA. Yep. At a Moe's Mexican restaurant, he was like, "I'm gonna need you to sign this so that none of this gets out." And I mean, I was like what? Like, and to who? Like, who will it get out to? This is the kind of guy he was. Now he was like, no, pick a card. Like that kind of guy.
Did he pull like ping pong balls out of your mouth?
Yeah. Okay. He was like, that's a pretty interesting thing, but you have something behind your ear. So
did he also juggle?
I don't know if he juggled or not. I don't remember. You know what? I bet you not, because he's not very coordinated.
Remember Will Ferrell's character when he came on?
Yes.
D'Angelo, and he did the no. He juggled. I forget what he called, shadow juggling or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't have his balls with it.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
He did it without him. Yeah. Phyllis, do you trust me?
That was so funny.
So his son never really worked there, but like he would do some stuff if like he was. He a magician. I mean, he was just making money off his dad. Yeah. So.
Did you ever see his act?
Yes.
Was it like, this guy's pretty good, or was it like pathetic?
It's not as pathetic as you want it to be.
Okay.
But it's not as good as it's not as good as you want it as it should be to that be your job. Does that make sense?
100%.
So like you're like, okay, how did that dollar bill get in there? But also, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
So it's not like he did anything crazy, and he would be like, he would post stuff. I think he does a podcast now. It's probably like.
Well, who doesn't have a podcast, Dustin?
Yeah, that's true.
We have a podcast. You have 2.
I do have 2 podcasts, but I'm no magician.
That's true.
Magician.
And I can juggle.
Can you?
I can.
I need to see that.
Yeah.
So he was, but that's what I was going to say. So it was the most mind-numbing job. So do you know what an inside paper person does?
No.
Inside paper salesman.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, all of my knowledge of the paper industry is based off of watching The Office.
Okay, so those people in the office, like they're like salesmen, but like my job in the office was inside paper sales. But really what that means is they have outside paper salesmen who never come to the office.
Right, that makes sense.
You basically never see them. They're out
just drumming up new business,
making deals and doing whatever. And you're assigned those guys. So basically they go something like this. Mr. Company, I'm going to sell you 100 reams of paper at this much, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, let's shake on it. They call me and they're like, put an order in for 100 reams of paper to this guy. And then you have to be like, okay, at what price? And they're like, $3. And you're like, I can't do $3. There's a system that's like, no, you're not allowed to do $3
right, you got
on this.
Top and bottom limits,
profit
right?
margins.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like, salesmen are an interesting person. So telling a salesman no, they take that as like
they don't think that way.
No, everything's yes.
It's got but.
Yeah, so you'd have to fight, and then you'd be like, go to her and get approval because this is a big client. So it's just
he's already made a promise, right?
I mean, he's already shaking hands on it, and I mean, but it's so boring. I mean, it is so boring that I was like, when I got out of there, I was like throwing a party. I'd never been so happy in my entire life to get out of that job.
So, like when you watch The Office, I hate to keep dragging it back to The Office.
This is good.
When you watch that show, are you like, oh my gosh, I can totally identify with this?
Some of the stuff, like even in being in the office, so it's like what you think. Like you're in a cubicle.
Yeah.
You're basically segregated from everybody else. You all have to take different lunch times. Like you don't have a lunchtime at the same time because somebody has to man the
It's
phone.
like a prison.
It is prison.
Yeah.
It is and that's when my brain really clicked and I was like, you don't belong here.
No.
I mean,
no one belongs in that kind of environment. That is not conducive to humans.
So nobody belongs there, but there are some people that thrive in that environment because they don't really want to do anything.
Right.
So it's like the perfect, if you just want to like be like this all day.
Yeah.
Like just typing. I mean, and not have to think anything.
Yeah.
It's a great job. But if you have any desire to like do any kind of outside the box, it's not an outside the box thinking kind of job.
No.
It's not like, they bought this is how like set everybody's in their way and not doing anything extra is we had this old system of entering orders. And they had paid like hundreds of thousands of dollars on this new system. But everybody that was inside sales said it didn't work. Like it doesn't work. You can log into it and here it is. And then you may have to check it every once in a while, but it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So I started using it because I was like, I want to see what this thing is. It was so far superior, easier, faster, more user-friendly than the old system. And that I was like, I can't believe you guys aren't using it. Like, it's too hard to learn. I was like, it took me 5 minutes. It is so much better than the old one. And I was like, can I use this? And they were like, well, nobody else wants to, but if you want to use it, you can. And I was like so much more efficient than everybody else.
Yeah.
But they didn't even want to try it. They were like, no, this is the way we do it. We take a lunch at 11. We eat from 11 to 12. And it was like, I mean, when I got out of there, it was like the happiest day of my life.
I bet.
I shouldn't say that. But marrying Laura, having Finley, leaving that job.
Up to that point, it was the happiest day of your life.
Up to that point, it was the happiest day.
Other than pinching that ice cream cone.
That felt pretty good, if I'm being honest. I pinched it with my tongue. We got time for a couple more. Let's talk about 2 or more. You got anything good?
I'm trying to think of any like jobs like that are relatable that I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but if you got another one.
So you're at not a weird thing, a good thing is that you went into the military.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to deal with these experience like this kind of job, I think. Like that was like what I guess I mean is like I hadn't like found my way nearly at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like trying stuff out, and then you realize that certain things are miserable, it's a good lesson because you learn what stinks, what you're not gonna like. I was explaining to Makai, my brother, who was here off camera 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they might have seen a reasonable facsimile of him.
It was pretty close.
Very accurate.
But like I was telling Makai, I was like, some people work in factories, and we need those people.
Yeah.
But not everybody's meant to work in those factories, and they can't do it. And that's when you've when you're like, that's how I figured it out. Because you get money, and sometimes working in a factory, you get more money than you can just doing something different in the field, but you can't handle it like mentally. Like it's too much. Like just doing this
like mass production type stuff,
like repetitive, whatever it is, like whatever that thing is, like even working in the paper company or being at like a factory, like pressing the same button over and over again. Like that would make I wouldn't be able to do that. But some people can. They need that structure. Like they need that kind of like in the box, like, and we need those people. But that's not for everybody.
No, it's not. In fact, there's there's a lot of good things to think about as you're kind of growing up, especially as young men, because schools are not really, we had this conversation on the other podcast. The way we do school is, I have a lot of disagreement with it.
Yeah.
Especially for young men. It's not conducive to the way young men are built.
Yeah.
You want young men to be like explorers and outside the box thinkers and can do and very vigorous, and you make them sit in classrooms 8 hours a day.
Yep.
You're training them the wrong way.
That's right.
You want to exploit that kind of energy that they have.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I quit school and joined the Army. It's like, this stinks. I don't like this.
Yep. There's many times that I look back. I thought about doing it when I was younger to join the military. I think it helps with a lot of things. And I still today wish, there's times when I think back now that I'm too old to do it, but times when I think back and I'll be like, man, I wish I had joined the military when I was younger. Cause it was an option.
Yeah.
Cause I didn't go to college right away. I took like a semester off to like kind of figure it out. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into the military. Probably would have been really good for me. But instead I worked at PA Paper Supply and some other turds along the way until I found my way. But it all works out for the better. But
what about your EMS job? Any good stories from that?
I have one quick one, and then we'll end it. So when I knew I didn't want to be a firefighter anymore, this is the day. So we fought a fire during a hurricane in a flood because somebody lit their house on fire because they didn't have flood insurance. So, but we don't know that when we roll up on it.
Just strongly suspect
we just know that there's a house fire and
in a flood.
We suspected it when all the stuff was out of it, like they had taken their stuff and left. But so if you know anything about like firefighting, your truck only has so much water, and then so you either have to hook up to a hydrant or some other thing.
Right.
And in that case, that other thing we're standing in it.
Yeah.
Just flood water. Well, flood water is the grossest stuff. It was like oily and like brown, gross.
Yeah, there's all kinds of impurities in it. And it's got to be like, in order to pressurize it, it's got to go through a series of valves and stuff. Yep. So it's probably dangerous, right?
It's not great but we didn't have another option.
Right.
So, but the problem is you're spraying it on everything. So it's getting on you. You're also standing in the flood water.
Yeah.
As we're fighting the fire, we're about like waist deep. And
holy mackerel.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
That's legit.
Yeah, it was.
I was thinking
serious.
like, maybe ankle deep.
No, we were like swimming in it. So we would have to like walk through this waist deep flood water up to where the house was and then fight the fire in there. So we're spraying everybody with gross water in the face. Like one guy opened up. So you're supposed to open up a hose. There's a lot of pressure on that hose.
Yeah,
so
by design.
Open it up slowly. Well, this guy, they brought in outside help. So like different municipalities sent their firefighters to us to help us.
Was it a 4-alarm fire?
It was a 2-alarm fire. Okay. But still a pretty good one. Not a 4-alarm, pretty good. So, but I mean, just for the hurricane, we got aid because we weren't going to be able to help with all the rescues and all the stuff. We needed extra firefighters. So like different cities sent their firefighters.
This is South Myrtle Beach then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this guy hammers open on, it's a big line that's flowing into, it's 2 big lines that are flowing into one line and then it's spraying. And he opens it up, and when I tell you, it shot him straight up in the air. Then it turned over, and it shot him straight down into the floodwater. He was in the you couldn't find him, couldn't find where he was. The guy at the other thing cut it off when he saw it, so he didn't even have it shut off. But I mean, he was under that floodwater for 20 seconds.
Wow.
For sure, swallowing it. There's no way you didn't. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, because of the surprise. Yeah,
so we're all in gross floodwater. The roof falls in on us as we're inside, like the worst case scenario. Luckily, nobody was hurt. We finally get the fire out, and we're all like, we're greasy. It's not like we're wet. We're greasy. All of our turnout gear is like totally wet and gross. And like I got home, like so the roof almost fell on us, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
This is like, because it was, it was just one of those things where you're like, I can't, like, because you have to love that job. You know what I mean? That's like one of those things where you have to love that.
Oh, yeah, because it's miserable.
I was like, this is not super fun.
Yeah.
But that guy getting totally blown up into the air and then like when he got back, I didn't know him because he was from a different municipality, but I was like, I'm just going to be honest with you. There's not a chance that you don't have AIDS. There's no way you went into that water. Oh, man. There's no way you went into that. You swallowed it for sure. You like engulfed some of that water. It's disgusting. And he was like, don't talk about it, man. But they took us out of service for like 8 hours because everybody had to wash their gear. Because that was basically a biohazard thing. They had to wash the rigs down and run fresh water through it and clean out the whole thing out. I mean,
so you're talking sewage also.
It's basically sewage. Yeah, that's
sewage, any of the oils and greases anything. That are,
And that's what I was going to say. As we're standing in the water, you can see something like floating, and I look, and it's just a dead boar. Just a dead boar. Like, you know what kills a boar? Not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
a sturdy creature.
It's just like
it is a sturdy. Me. It's like a cockroach.
And I like poked it, and it just like kept floating that way. I was like, oh boy, we're all gonna die from this water. Yeah. So, cool. Well, that's my last fun story. I mean, I probably have more, but that's a good one for to end on, a dead boar floating by you in greasy, gross sewage water. So, thanks for indulging me in this one.
That was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
We appreciate you, the listener.
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys tune in next week, and we hope you enjoyed the past episodes as well.
Yeah.
Until next time, this has been Mishmash Men Podcast.
See ya.